Hi, and welcome to December's virtual painting class here at Westside. My name is Victoria, and I will be your painting teacher for this afternoon. This month, we're painting Christmas elf feet. Now, your kits, which are available here at Westside Library, include the following items: an 8x10 canvas, a traceable of the design, carbon paper to trace the design on the canvas, newspaper, and paint. Each kit should include white, green, yellow, red, black, and blue. Now, what does not come in your kit is paper towel, a container for your water, a plate for a paint palette, and paint brushes. For this painting, you will need a 3/4 inch brush or a wash brush, basically any large brush to do the background. You are going to need a size 8 filbert or a 5/8 flat. Depending on what kind of paintbrush kit or what you have at home, you might have the filbert, but you should probably have the flat. And a liner brush. I'm using a size 2. You can use a size 3 or go down to a size 1. This one kind of really depends on your preference. All right, and I also have a toothbrush for splatter painting because the very last step will be to splatter paint your painting with white paint. All right, let's get painting. So your first step is going to be to get your plate that you're using for a paint palette and pour out some of the blue and get some of the white. Now, you don't want to use all of your white right now because you're going to need some more later on to paint your stockings. The blue and the white you're going to use to paint your background. I'm using popsicle sticks, which come in your kit to scoop out the paint. Some of it is very thick and others isn't. That just really kind of depends on the consistency, depends on the brand of paint used. The paint that you used runs the gamut from stuff from Hobby Lobby, Michaels, Apple Barrel you pick up at Walmart. So we have different brands that we use. Also, for those of you who are just watching and have paint and brushes and canvas at home and who are just using your own stuff, the blue we're using is like kind of an Arctic blue, and you can use whatever you have on at home. Okay, so to paint your background, you are going to need your big brush, and you are going to take your brush, dip it in the blue, load up blue on one corner, and then load up white on the other corner. And you are going to start painting your background. Remember, as you paint, you want to keep enough paint on your paintbrush that the paint flows. As you paint your background, you're going to see like some striation, and that's what you want. You're not going to paint this where it blends all together. You want a variation in the color where you see some parts are lighter, some parts are darker. You'll see the white, you'll see blue streaks. So don't paint it to blend. Keep loading your paintbrush where you load one corner with the white, one corner with the blue. Have enough that it flows on your paintbrush. See. If you have a canvas, I'm using a board canvas, which is completely flat. If you're using a frame canvas that's raised a little bit, don't forget to paint your corners. All right. All right, so our background is painted. You're going to need to let your background dry before you trace the elf feet on the canvas. This can be done two ways. You can either let it dry by using a hair dryer. This speeds up the process and it would be dry within a couple of minutes. Or you can let it air dry, which would take maybe about 15. Depending on what you're doing and how much time you have, you can use either method. All right, stop please. Canvas is dry. And our next step is going to be to trace the design onto the canvas. So you are going to put the carbon paper shiny side down over the canvas. And then you're going to lay the traceable on top of the canvas. Okay. All right, and then you just go over the drawing with a pencil and your design will show up on the canvas. Just remember when you are tracing to hold the paper down so it doesn't move. right. Just a heads up, there is a line here. Don't trace that. That was when I was doing the drawing. That was my stopping point so I knew how big the canvas was, because the piece of paper is a little bit longer than the canvas. All right, so I'm through tracing my elf feet. So just pick it up and move it to the side. And as you can see, we have our design on our canvas. All right, I'm gonna take it up. Okay. All right. All right, I just made a boo-boo and I had some white paint on the edge of my hand that got onto my canvas back, so I'm gonna fix that real quick. And that's kind of like one of the great things about the way this is that the background is if something like that happens, you can just go in and do a quick little fix. Okay. All right, so don't forget, every time that you get through with your brush, you're going to want to rinse it off. So rinse off your brush, then take your paper towel and squeeze the excess water out. You don't want to leave your paintbrush in the cup of water too long. You don't want to leave it sopping wet. It's not good for it. All right, so the first thing I am going to start painting is the boots. I am going to start with the red. The red we're going to be using on the patch at the bottom of the heel and the tops. All right, so for this, I am using the Filbert. The Filbert is the one that has a rounded kind of edge. It kind of looks like an eyeshadow brush. Or if you don't have a Filbert, you can use a flat. I have a 5/8 flat. I prefer to use the Filbert. The Filbert is actually designed with that kind of like rounded tip to actually get in around curves and to do shading. All right, so let's begin painting our elf feet. Okay. So I'm just using it straight from the cup. Since I'm not mixing any of the paint, I just want it red right now. And I'm just starting to go over the V. That's something I like about the Filbert, is because it does have like that little tapered edge on the end. So I'm using that point to go over the pencil marks. Now, if you don't have a Filbert, you just have a flat, you can do the same thing. you're gonna take the very edge and go over that line and then start filling in your body. Okay. With a flat, if you're using a flat, if you need to go in and use for some close-up corner work or like a small piece, just use the corner. All right. All right, I am gonna go back to using my filbert because that's my preference. I like using it better than the flat, though I have used a flat plenty of times because that's what I have. Okay. All right. So if you still see some pencil marks, don't worry about that. Remember that one of the last steps is we're going to do is go back and outline all of this in black paint. Okay. Also, you want to keep enough paint on your paintbrush that it flows, that it doesn't drag, but you don't want like a gob of paint on there. So something I'm continuously doing, and I'll show you on the paint palette, is, okay, I'm loading up my paint with the paint. And, ooh, it's kind of gobbed on there. So I'll take and get some excess off. And then I'll go in and paint. And go back and load up my brush. And you just keep that. And if you see where you're running out of paint, and you can tell you're running out of paint on your paintbrush because it'll start dragging. When you're painting, it'll actually drag and pull the paint, and you'll start seeing the background. So, and you don't want that. All right. So we are going to do the next elf foot the same way. Use the tip on the filbert or that corner if you're using the flat. All right, I can tell I'm starting to drag my paint, so I want to get some more on it. Right. And as you are painting, something I do is I'll change the angle that my canvas is at so it's easier for me to reach. And once again, we're just cutting in over those lines. All right, and we are through with the red for right now. So I'm going to clean off my brush as I am going to use it again to paint the green part of the boot. Now, sometimes you need to rinse off your brush more than once. I have 2 cups of water. Basically, when you need to change your water is when you're rinsing your brushes and they're not coming clean in the water. Sometimes that means you change your water 3 or 4 times during a painting. Sometimes you only change it once. It just depends on the colors that you're using and what you're painting. All right, don't forget, you want to get the excess water out. I'm seeing that when I was squeezing the water out, I was still getting some red. You want to keep cleaning your brush until that water is clear. Okay, so the water is clear when I was squeezing it out, so my paintbrush is clear. It's clean, and I'm going to go on to the green. Okay, so we have a nice forest green, just using a little bit. Once again, I don't want like this big old gob on my brush, so I am. Water droplets are not our friend. If you see any, get them up immediately. I had some drips from the red paint. Luckily, it doesn't look like it affected my canvas, and actually where it was on the elf feet, it was going to be painted over anyway, so there was nothing to repair. Just remember, if you make a mistake, it's fixable. You can go back and repaint over it. Okay. Once again, I'm using that filbert. Okay. I want to keep our brush strokes going in one way. I need to get some more paint. Now, I am using when I get into like the little triangle V shapes with the boot, I'm just using the tip of my filbert. All right, where's that? Okay, I'm looking for the straight, and there, okay, I found it. It's called, where did I put my painting supplies? Okay, so if you're using the straight, you're just going to use the edge. You can also, you have like got one of those multi-packs of paintbrushes. They'll have different sizes in them. If you find the size 8 like filbert or the 5/8 straight to be too big, go down a size. You might find a smaller paintbrush easier to use in those smaller spaces. Right, so we have the first boot done. Now we're going to use the second. Again, you're just going to use the tip. And we're kind of going to go over the pencil markings. And then we're going to fill it in. And keeping our brush strokes going in one direction. Remembering to keep enough paint on our paintbrush where our paint doesn't drag. Like with the boot, with the green part, we will be doing a second coat. When I was doing the picture the first time, I ended up putting 3 coats of green paint on. So depending on how the second layer comes out, we might be doing a third. Okay. All right, so we have our green part of our boot done. Before we put on the second coat, we want it to dry a little bit. So while that is drying, we are going to go and do our leggings. Something you might have noticed, I actually added a little bit to my leggings. I decided that I wanted the legs to come up all the way to the end of the canvas. So I just drew up and added one more segment to the stockings. All right, so we're gonna clean off our paintbrush. Both of them. Okay. All right. For our stockings, we are going to need the white. This is the main reason I had wanted you to put some of the white on from the container onto a plate, is because you needed just solid white for the stockings, and you're also going to be using some of your black. right. Okay, so white, black, white, black, white, black, black, white, white, black, white. Okay. All right. So I am going to start with white at the bottom. So I'm going to use that filbert. And I'm going to go every other layer with the white. Once again, okay. Okay, so I've done the white. And now we're gonna do the black. Just go over those pencil lines with the tip. And then fill it in. All right, so we have our first coat on our stockings. We will be going back and doing a second coat for the white. So while that portion dries, we are going to go back clean our brush, and we are going to go and do our second coat of green. Okay, so we are going to put the second coat of green on our boot. So for that, we're going to do a little bit of highlighting. We're going to take some more of our white and using that liner brush, which is a size 2, we're going to go up in a little triangle-y part, add some white, add a white streak around here and around our curve. And then around our heel. Okay. Now we are going to take our green and we're going to do a second coat. And we're going to go over that white and we're going to blend it. And this is going to add some depth to our painting. Now, you want to work fairly fast because acrylic dries fairly fast. Acrylic paint is a fast drying paint. So when you blend, you want to get up there quickly and keep enough paint on your brush so you're not pulling. All right. All right. All right, congratulations. You are finished with the green portion of your elf shoe. All right. So, all right. Nice clean brush. And I might need to change my order again. Okay. I'm gonna go back over the red one more time. I am not quite happy with the green in the upper part of like those little triangles. So I'm going to take my like liner brush and get in there. All right. And besides outlining, that's kind of what you use your liner brush for, is for small spaces. Okay. I'm just kind of happier with that. Okay. All right. So for right now, we're through with the boot for the moment. I'm gonna flip that canvas around and we're gonna do a second coat of the white paint. I'm looking at the black. The black is really opaque and has covered nicely. So I don't think I'm gonna do a second coat on it, but that white, I want a second coat. So I'm gonna clean my brush. And since I'm using white, I really wanna make sure it's clean. All right. So I'm gonna use some white. Oh yeah, the second coat is covering nicely. Okay. All right, so we're through with the white. I don't think we're gonna be doing a third coat. It looks like it's covered nicely. Okay, so I'm going to rinse out my brush again. Because if you looked at the picture, the completed picture at the beginning of the video and the picture online, you are going to see that there are jingle bells on the elf shoes. And that's what we're fixing to put in. Okay, so we already have the large jingle bells at the end of the boot. And then we're going to go in and paint a jingle bell at every point on the top of the boot. All you're doing is painting a yellow circle. All right. So you are going to need your yellow paint. And I'm going to be using my liner brush. So you want to make sure it's clean. And I'm going to start with that big jingle bell. And I'm going to go around the pencil mark and then fill it in. We will be doing 2 coats for the jingle bells. I'm going to do the 2 big ones first. And now we're just going to draw a circle and then fill that circle in. You're going to do that at the end of each point. Just draw a circle. And fill it in. And we're going to go back to that first big jingle bell and just add some more yellow paint. And then the second large jingle bell. And just go around the pencil lines. Okay. And if that first coat of yellow paint is not dry as much as you wanted it to be, you can use the hairdryer on it or wait a couple of minutes and let it dry. Okay. Okay, I'm going to clean my brush off because since I'm through with the yellow paint, now we're going to go back to that 5/8, not the 5/8. We're going to go back to that big brush that we used at the beginning. And we're going to add polka dots. Now, there's a hack for doing polka dots. You use the tip of your brush and just dip it in the paint and make a dot. And just, if you want smaller polka dots, you can use the tip of a smaller size paintbrush. But I find like the 5/8 or a 1-inch brush gives you a nice size polka dot. Remember, when you do polka dots, it's supposed to be random. Right. And don't forget to wipe off paint. Right. So with our polka dots, we're going to start lining our work with our black paint. We're going to need that liner brush, and now we're just going to outline our work. Keep enough paint on your paintbrush where you'll get a solid line. And go back over basically anything that had a pencil line on it. We have done our outline in black, and we're almost finished. Now we are going to, for the jingle bells, we are going to go and outline them in black too. And you're going to put an X in the center. Outline, put an X. Okay. All right. And after you finish your jingle bells, on the heels, I'm adding some hash lines like it would be sewn on. And these are just like little straight lines. Okay. So we have outlined, which means we get to do the last step is to splatter paint our painting. So we're going to take some more of our white, put a glob on the paint, and we're going to get our toothbrush. We're going to wet it, get some of the white paint on that toothbrush, and then flick it on our paint. And if you want to go and see if make it look a little bit more like it's snowing, you can add some white polka dots, some white. To the background. So you get even more of like that snowy effect. Yeah. All right. So that is our Christmas elf feet. Thank you for joining me and have fun painting. Okay, thanks for joining me today and to paint Christmas elf feet. I will see you next month when we paint our snowman in January. All right, see you later. Bye.